Sheikh al-Mahdi, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum. Eid Mubarak to you all on this auspicious occasion of Eid al-Fitr. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Kumail Versi, and I am one of the executive committee members at Mahfil at SICM over here. It's been a pleasure to serve you all during this month of Ramadan, where prayers and du'as are answered, inshallah. As we celebrate the occasion of Eid, we also remember those who are going through difficulties and those who are unable to join us today. Please can I request you to recite Surah Fatiha for all our marhumin. We've had a lot to think about in the run-up to Ramadan. The atrocities that have taken place throughout the world have shocked and appalled all of us. The huge number of refugees from Syria, Afghanistan, and Iraq, and many other countries throughout the world have led to an influx of refugees into Europe. These refugees have been risking their lives to leave the areas of war and risk of death. Their conditions are unimaginable. The news shows us short clips of what it looks like to be cramped in what can only be described as rubber dinghies, and they cross vast expanses of water. But this gives us no real insight into the actual physical and mental struggle that these people are going through. And we sit in our comforts over here, and nothing can give us that insight apart from experiencing that ourselves. Charities that we know so well who spoke during this Ramadan period, such as Sufra Northwest London, Lady Fatima Trust, and many others, do fantastic work. They not only raise awareness of these ever so important issues, but they also raise a little bit of money to be able to help those who need the money so much. But this work is in short supply, and the empathy offered to these atrocious situations is shockingly low. Not only low, but sometimes even the opposite. We look around and we see no empathy, but rather apathy, and worse, hatred and disgust. Europe had over 1 million migrants. It sounds a lot, but the actual European population is more than 700 million. So that's 0.14% of an increase. A tiny proportion of what we can do to help those suffering are subject to war and death. But instead, Europe has raised its borders. Marine Le Pen, who garnered massive support, becoming shockingly mainstream, she compared the influx of refugees as the barbarian invasion of the 4th century. Our very own David Cameron called it a swarm of people coming across the Mediterranean. The rhetoric has continued, and hatred has spread more and more widely. Empathy has been lost. Many will look at Brexit and see the rhetoric continue. The poster Nigel Farage used to garner support showed Middle Eastern-like faces. The constant talk was about migration, and it still is, and that's central to the Brexit debate. The ramifications for us are massive. The perception is not that these are generic refugees. These are Muslim refugees. So the target of hatred falls to us and is fused with the hatred towards Muslims. This year, we have seen this in an increase in Islamophobia and the altered perception of Muslims in this country. A research study has shown that almost a third of people believe there are no-go areas in Britain where Sharia law dominates and non-Muslims cannot enter. Almost a third of young children believe that Muslims are taking over England. In some ways, these are comical, but they're also actually very disturbing statistics. The result has been attacks on Muslims throughout the world. The shock murderous rampage in Christchurch in New Zealand is an apt example of this. The following week, there was not love and support, which resonated throughout the country, but instead, mosques in Birmingham were attacked, and Muslims were scared. And this was what was happening in the run-up to Ramadan, and just before Ramadan started. So what does this have to do with us? What does this have to do with Eid? Ramadan is a time for community. Alhamdulillah, over here we are lucky to have a vast, diverse community. But is this enough? Does this community mitigate the Islamophobia around us? And does our insular program accentuate the problem? Perhaps the question is most important. Perhaps this question is the most important. Is it the insular nature of the mosques that has led to the fear of the unknown and the hatred towards Muslims? We've had an interesting few years developing the interfaith work here at Mahfil. I could list numerous ways in which we have done this, but suffice it to say, we meet local religious groups regularly, invite and visit them for talks, and have helped in the founding of Harrow Citizens, which includes many organizations in the borough. The support that has resulted has been clearly manifest. I talked about Christchurch. The number of letters and emails that we received from local organizations, from churches, from synagogues, was humbling. Not only that, but the following week, we actually had a reverend coming to our organization to show his support, and many others came to do the same. This shows that love can trump hate, excuse the pun for the visiting president. We are thankful that our relations with the Christians and the Jews in the local area is such a good one, and I hope we can continue to strengthen these and work with them in the organizations such as Harrow Citizens, rather than focus on hatred and anger. So I go back to my statement earlier. Ramadan and Eid are a time for community, but our community includes those around us. The Salam Center is a prime example of this, which understands that need, which seeks to overcome the hatred that reverberates when there's a lack of understanding between cultures and religions. So at this time of celebration, let us remember the importance of love of our community. Let us thank those who've worked so hard to build the community, and let us make sure that we participate in our communities throughout the year. On behalf of the Executive Committee, I would like to thank all of you for attending and making the Ramadan programs what they are. Without you, they cannot have taken place. And of course, the Ramadan itself cannot take place without the iftar. I thank all of those who've been working tirelessly to serve the food to us and to cook the food and the tea, etc. I'd like to thank those who've worked tirelessly to make the programs what they were. Those serving during iftar were amazing. Sometimes at the end of the fast, we're irritable, but the volunteers, despite having eaten also nothing, serve with a thankless task in a kind and lovely manner, with the utmost of patience. Please can we recite a loud salawat for them. And thank you also to the reciters and speakers this month. We've been blessed to have truly excellent reciters and have had lots of praise for them from the attendees. The children's madrasa can also not be forgotten and have run with teachers so we're thankful to them too for running the classes and making sure that our children are supported. I'd like to apologize for any shortcomings on our behalf and request that you have the love for the community allows you to forgive all of these shortcomings. We look forward to seeing you all in the coming weeks for our weekly programs, whether it be yoga, martial arts, tafsir classes, Friday programs, which this Friday we'll be having Professor Anand who will be speaking about India post the Modi election, or the many other programs that we have. Please ask any one of the volunteers if you have any questions or if you'd like to find out more. And please do join us as we build the Salam Center. And if you want a tour of the site, again, we'll be happy to take you down just after Ziyarat. Eid Mubarak to you all, and Assalamu Alaikum.